Hey, this is Steve Chase here. Thanks for watching. This video, we're going to accomplish a couple of things. One, we're going to look at absolute referencing and just see how easy it is. It's a common mistake people make is when they don't have the correct absolute referencing in their formulas. And what we're after ultimately is determining who is moving on. And what I mean by moving on is, let's imagine that this contest that we have with the 5 judges, they score from 1 to 5. If a contestant is able to manage 3 or more 5s, they are moving on. So, for example, Tom is moving on, whereas Atticus is not. Why? Because they need 3 5s. Tom has 3 or more 5s. Atticus only has 1 5 here. So, to begin, I'm going to go through and we're going to count how many 5s does Tom have, how many 4s does Tom have, how many 3s, 2s, and 1s, if they have any. And we'll do that by choosing the function COUNTIF. So let me begin by typing equals COUNTIF, and it's asking me for my range. So the range will be, what are we looking at? In this case, B2 through F2. I'm going to type a comma to move on to the criteria. And the criteria I'll use right above here, I'll link it to cell I1. Okay, we have 3 5s. Let's move down and copy this down and see how the problem is that when we get to the second line here, it's actually counting how many 2s or 3s does it have. So that's really messed up here. And all these zeros here are incorrect. And notice every time I double click inside of the formula, I get to see the range that's being used. So my range is looking good going down 1 row at a time. The problem is my 5, my criteria, the I5 here, in this case that's moved now, it should really stay I1. So what I'm going to do is go ahead, delete those mistakes, click back on my original formula, and come up to the formula bar and lock it down. So I'm going to put a $sign in front of the column and another $sign in front of the row. And I'm going to hit enter. And to show you what happens now is we have an accurate picture of how many 5s each person got. By absolutely referencing the $sign in front of the column, I, it locks the column down. And in front of the row number, it locks the row number down. Okay. Now, sometimes you don't need to hard code it that much. When we're going to pivot, change the formula, go to the right, this is going to become a problem. Watch what happens when I drag to the right. It is not correct. This one right here, specifically, where it's saying that we have 3 4s, well, that's impossible. How can we have 3 5s and 3 4s when there's only 5 total scores? Double clicking, I will discover that when we double click, it is using a different method formula. So it's dragging to the right. Notice how it's shifted to the right, moving off to the side to the right. That's wrong. And it's still using the 5 as our condition. So as we go further down, see what's going on here? It's sliding through and it's missing staying in the D column. So we're going to need to lock down these columns here so that all of this, all these columns here stay parked in line. We don't want them shifting over. We also need to do something with that original formula with the I1. We don't need that always to be showing 5. We want that to move over. So we're dealing with 2 pieces here, okay? So I'm going to go up to the formula bar, and I'm going to modify the original formula, and I'm going to put $signs in front of column B and in front of column F. I'll leave the 2s alone because we want the 2s to turn into 3s, 4s, 5s, and 6s as we're dragging down. So visually imagine we're dragging down, leave the $sign off for anything you want to relative reference. Now, as far as the I1 goes, I'm going to have you guys think about this in the video. Pause the video and think about which $sign do I need to get rid of? I need to get rid of 1. I need to keep 1. So as you're thinking, I'm thinking, because sometimes this is kind of hard to think about here. And here's what I think. I do want it to go to the side, so I'm going to lift the $ off the column, and I'm going to keep it in front of the 1. Okay, good job if you said get rid of the column 1. Why? Because we're going to J and K and L, and when you do want that to turn into J, see how it's now J and K and so forth and so forth. So that's awesome. Okay, I'll select that whole entire row there and copy down, and boom, there we go. Okay, so it just takes time. It's like tying knots. You got to practice your knots over and over and over again to get the confidence that you need to know where the $ go and where to leave off. Okay. All right. So now we have enough information to determine who is moving on. Okay. It's anybody with 3 or more 5s. So what I'm going to do is use the if function. I'm going to type equals if, open parentheses, and notice how we have a logical test, a value if true, and a value if false. And I'll separate each of those by commas. But first, I'm going to hit escape, because what we can do is we can borrow this formula here. Since we've already done, I'm just going to copy that, hit escape, and let's go into equals if. At this point, I'm going to paste that in there. And so if, count if, look at B2 through F2, determine how many 5s there are. If that is greater than or equal to 3, then I'm going to type a comma. If value of true, I'm going to type moving on, comma. If false, I'm going to do dashes. Notice that the output in text is required to have quotations around it. All right, they're moving on, and that person is moving on here. We got 2 moving ons here. Let's see if Billy and Trammell, if we add changes to their scores and see that. So I'm going to go ahead and change judge 1 to give Billy a 5 instead of a 3. And Trammell, I'll change that judge 4 here to a 5 and see how that naturally works that way. All right. Hey guys, thanks for watching this video. I hope this helped you understand kind of the relationships of the $. Just recall that use $signs in front of the columns when you want to lock down the columns so they don't move, and use $signs in front of the row number of the cell references if you want to lock down the row so the row stays accurate. For more tips and tricks, you can check out either my blog at stevechasedocs.wordpress.com or my new website, sequentiasolutions.com. Thank you.